Well, it's 7:05. That went by quickly. So, hello, good morning. My name is Erica Rascon, and I'm so grateful that you've taken this time out of your schedule to be here with me in honor of the International Day of Peace. This is my first event of this kind, and I'm really excited about it. And I hope to offer it every year moving forward because I think that we can so easily focus on the things in our lives that are challenging, on struggles, on adversity, on oppression, and things like that, which are all valid. It's also incredibly beneficial to us as an act of self compassion and to others as an act of compassion to elevate empathy and elevate compassion and elevate the alchemy that's needed to shift from suffering into compassion and self compassion. So that's going to be the emphasis of today. If you are just hopping on, I mentioned that there are some props that could be supportive for you, though you do not need them for the class. You might want a block for the yoga asana part of our class, and you might want a cushion, pillow, blanket, something of the sort for the meditation portion of our class to help you feel more comfortable if you do not have an established seated practice. Let's start off with some grounding and centering. So to the extent that you're able, sit comfortably, letting your ankles or shins cross. If it's more comfortable for your legs to be extended, please do so. And we'll let our hands rest at our sides or on our lap or knees. And start to close your eyes. If it doesn't quite feel right to close your eyes, you can leave your eyes open and simply soften your gaze so that you're not focusing on anything in particular. Take a moment to set aside anything that has happened before, anything that needs to happen later, and just let yourself be here in the present moment. Noticing the mat or floor beneath the edges of your feet, your legs, your seat. Notice any part of your body that is being supported by another surface. That might even include your hands as they rest on your knees, thighs, or the floor. Good. From that place of support and stability, we can lengthen upward through the spine, reaching the crown of your head towards the heavens and letting your shoulders relax. Beautiful. I now invite you to take a little journey inward. Maybe you start by noticing your surroundings and just calling to mind where you are. In the yoga room, in my home, in Covington, Georgia, USA, North America, the earth. Kind of get a feel for where you are, wherever that is in the world. And then start to zoom inward. You're in a body. You are not the body, but you are the awareness, the soul, the spirit inside of this body, the consciousness. This consciousness surrounded by a body, it has a pulse. It has physical sensations that you might feel right now. The comfort or discomfort of sitting on the floor, the tightness or openness in your body. Start to notice who you are in this current space and whatever words or phrases work best for you. Good. Who we are in this moment and in this experience of life is intricately connected to the people around us. None of us live in true isolation, and none of us can focus or function in true isolation. We are built for community. We thrive in community. And today we gather to honor ourselves and our place in the broader global community. We're going to take 3 cleansing breaths, in through the nose and out through the mouth. Inhale deeply, sigh it out. Again, inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. Final time. And at the end of that last exhalation, begin to blink open your eyes gently. Give yourself a moment to adjust to your space and the light therein. And we're going to give ourselves just a moment or two to stretch in any way that feels intuitive to us, starting off the practice in our body in a way that makes sense to the individual, right? Not even my cues or anyone else's suggestions, just sort of feeling into your body and what it needs. We'll take about 3 to 5 breath cycles here. It doesn't have to have a yoga name or be anything special. Start to notice what your body needs. Anything that you've done that's asymmetrical, start to wrap it up as we all reunite at center. And we'll all meet up in a seated position with the opposite leg in front. So if you've been seated with one shin in front, you might cross to the extent that you're able. And let's start off with some movement for the neck and the shoulders. We're going to take our arms out nice and wide. Start to squeeze your shoulder blades together behind you. And then as you exhale, tuck chin to chest and bring your hands together. Inhale, become expansive, take up space. And exhale, squeeze the arms in, press the hands together. Good. 3 more times. Two more. Really press the hands in, start warming up the muscles of the front shoulders and chest. Good. Next time that you inhale, place both hands on the mat on either side of your hips. We're going to leave the left hand down and reach your right arm up, palm facing in. Start to hinge towards your left side. You might take your supporting arm in any place that feels good for you. And then start to draw your top shoulder back, creating a little space in the side body, creating more space to breathe and increasing our capacity to receive. One more breath on this side. And inhale to return to center. Exhale, change sides. Keep squeezing that top shoulder blade down the back. And notice if you're in a deep sort of forward folding shape where your chest is concave, try to keep the chest open towards the ceiling. 2 more breaths here. And we'll use our next inhalation to lift the torso upright and place the hands behind the back, interlacing your fingers. Good. You squeeze your shoulder blades and your elbows in. Start to give your head a few neck rolls, taking 5 in each direction. Notice if there's anywhere that feels a little tight, as well as the spaces that feel really open, maybe surprisingly relaxed for this point in the morning. Good. Once you've done 5 on one side, switch. At the end of that 5th rotation, release the bind of the hands, and let's start to make our way into tabletop position. We'll stack our shoulders over our wrists and stack our hips over our knees. And we'll go through a few rounds of cat and cow. I like to tuck the toes under behind me so I can really press the balls of the feet on the floor, but it's up to you if you like the tops of the feet down. Inhale, Lift your sternum and your tailbone. Exhale, pull your navel up towards the ceiling as you round the back. Inhale, take the back bend, gaze lifts. Exhale, round the spine, let your head drop. Good, let's take this a few more rounds, maybe moving a little faster if you would like to generate more internal heat, or moving a bit slower, more mindfully if you're really just wanting to feel into the sensations and be gentle with your physical body today. Good. As you flow, bring some awareness into your tailbone, your pelvis, and let it move liberally, right? We want this movement to travel all the way down the spine so that when you're inhaling, you're sending that tailbone up towards the upper corners of the room. And then as you're exhaling, the tailbone is anchoring down towards your knees. Twice more. And the next time that you exhale, find a nice neutral position for your spine. Take your knees wide, a little bit wider than your hips or as wide as your mat, and you can let your toes touch behind you. Sit back onto your heels, and you might stay here if this is already really a deep stretch for the front of your thighs. Otherwise, you might start to straighten your arms, reaching your hands forward and lowering your forehead to or towards the mat for child's pose. We'll take several breaths here in child's pose, and this is a terrific spot for setting your intention for the class, dedicating your practice to someone or something greater than yourself, or carrying a mantra with you. Today, my mantra is compassion. You may pick one that works best for you. We'll take a few breaths here in child's pose with our intention. Good, final breath here. And let's inhale to return to tabletop position, this time with your knees together, or at least squeezing your legs in towards the midline. It's fine if your feet and ankles don't touch. We're going to send our right knee out towards the right and give it 3 big circles forwards and backwards, aiming to draw circles, huge circles on the wall, or whatever space is out beside you. And then after you've done those 3 circles, forwards and backwards, take that right knee forward and place it in between the hands. Now, this is a good spot where you may want to just rock it out forwards and backwards, shifting the hips, straightening your right leg to the capacity that feels comfortable for you right now. And if you're working with a block, you might want to take the block or blocks under your hands. Now, I find that if you're using just a single block, it feels better to place both hands on the block inside of the foot. So this takes you from a lunge position into a lizard position, but it offers a bit more stability if you're using the block and you only have one. We'll take a few more breaths here. And the next time that you find yourself exhaling, keep the leg as straight as it will tolerate. Press all 5 toes down into the floor. And then inhale to lift all 5 toes and the ball of your foot away from the floor. Just sort of rock forwards and backwards here, pivoting on the heel of your foot. The emphasis may feel like it switches in and out of your calf and ankle. Sort of notice those sensations. Good. And with your next exhalation, let's switch sides. So we'll bend into that right knee. Send the right knee back in line with its neighbor. And then we'll take our hip circles on the left side now, drawing 3 big circles clockwise and 3 big circles counterclockwise. Good. And after your 3 circles in each direction, the left foot comes forward between the hands or to the outside of your hands if you're using a single block. And we're going to shift the hips forwards and backwards, bending and straightening the left knee. Use your exhales to push back, your inhales to shift forward. A few more rounds here, feeling into the left leg, the left hip, sort of noticing how this side differs from the first without any positive or negative judgments, just observation. We'll go twice more here. The next time that you exhale, leave the left leg straight or straight-ish and start to pivot on your left heel, flexing and pointing through the ankles and the toes. Good. Twice more. And then we're going to send the left knee back next to its neighbor. And we're going to turn towards the long edge of our space, whether it's a mat or rug. You just want to give yourself the most support as you can. Because we're now going to send our right leg out towards the right. Maybe your toes point slightly outward or completely forward, whatever feels good on your ankle. And we're going to start to walk the hands forward, keeping the arms as straight as we comfortably can. It'll look like down dog in the upper body and a gate pose in the lower body. If you are very comfortable in this position, you might lower all the way to your forearms or bring your forehead to the floor. Otherwise, you're keeping your arms straight out in front of you for support. We'll take a few breaths here, stretching the inner right thigh. Good. Use your inhalation to lift your torso upright. We're going to take the arms into the shape of a T. Bring your left arm up and then bend your left elbow. Your right arm is now going to reach across, and you can use your right hand to hold on to that left elbow, keeping it beside your ear or drawing it towards the midline. Take your next exhalation to hinge towards your extended leg and breathe here. Good. Next inhalation brings us upright, and the exhalation takes us into tabletop. We'll switch sides from here. So now we have the left leg extended. Again, your toes can point out or toes forward. Find what's good for your ankle. And then start to lower down to your capacity with your arms straight out in front of you or bringing your forearms down to the floor. Think about extending the crown of your head away from your tailbone so that your spine is long. And press into the pinky edge of your left foot, keeping the arch light, staying active and strong in the leg. We'll take a few breaths here. As you inhale, start to stack your shoulders over your hips. We're going to take the arms into the shape of a T. This time, it is your right arm that lifts up and the elbow bends, and your left hand that guides that right elbow beside your ear or more towards the midline of your body, yogi's choice. Press your head back into your forearms to keep your chest lifted. And with that next exhalation, hinge towards your extended leg. We'll take a few breaths here. We'll use an inhalation to lift the torso upright and an exhalation to return into tabletop position. You can return to the short facing edge of your mat if you would like. And we're going to come down onto the abdomen. We'll take both of our hands to either side of the rib cage and squeeze your elbows in. Press your pubic bone down into the floor, and then let the tops of your feet rest on the floor, about hip distance apart. You can let your forehead rest on the floor. I'm just keeping mine elevated so that I can talk. Next time that you feel an inhalation, lift your head, chest, maybe even a little bit of your lowest ribs. Squeeze your shoulder blades and your elbows together and press your feet firmly into the floor. We're going to take a few breaths here in our baby cobra, activating the muscles of the back body, pressing the feet down into the floor to get nice and anchored in our legs. And maybe once we find that anchor, we can lift a smidgen higher. One more full breath here. And exhale, release the forehead down. Take a breath or two. Good. Next time that you inhale, lift everything away from the floor that is above your belly button. Squeeze the shoulders in, maybe even let your hands float. Hold here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release it all back down to the floor. Let the back relax. Good. For this next one, we're going to set up with the hands interlaced behind the lower back. So to the extent that you're able, let the webbings of your fingers touch, elbows and shoulders squeeze in. Reach your knuckles back towards your heels. And whenever the inhalation comes, lift the head and chest, and also lift your legs. Take a few breaths here in this variation of locust pose. Lengthen the back of your neck, keeping the line of the spine long. And your gaze is a few inches in front of your mat edge, or maybe a foot in front of your chest. Breathe here. Next exhalation, relax everything back to the floor. Take a breather. Good. Now for our final back bend, you may choose to repeat the locust that we just did, like this. Or you can come into a bow pose, bending both of your knees, drawing the heels as close to your body as you comfortably can, and reaching back simultaneously for your ankles. Whenever your next inhalation comes, lift your head and your chest. And as you exhale, press your ankles into your hands into your ankles, and start to lift everything except for your pubic bone. Remember, if your body doesn't feel ready for this right now, go back into locust. It'll probably feel a lot better. Even this for me is a bit of a heart opener, which is ideal for now. I need the stretch, but we're all finding what feels good for us. Take 2 breaths here. And at the end of that second breath, whatever back bend you've taken, release it all to the floor and allow yourself to take a breather. Good. Our twist for today will also come in the form of a little unexpected heart opener. So if you have any props on either side of your arms, go ahead and slide them out the way because you'll need plenty of space. We're going to take you can scoot towards the left edge of your mat first. And then take your right arm out to the right, keeping your wrist a little bit above your right shoulder. Drop your right shoulder to the floor, and then start to roll over onto your right side, stacking your left shoulder over your right shoulder and your left leg on top of your right leg. You can keep your left hand on the floor anywhere in front of you for support. Take a few breath cycles here. Final breath on this side. And use an exhalation to come back onto your abdomen. We're going to scoot now all the way over towards the right side of your space if you need to. And extend your left arm, keeping your left wrist mostly in line with your left shoulder. And start to roll over onto your left side body, stacking the shoulders, stacking the hips. Draw your navel in towards your spine, especially if you feel like you need a little help with balance. Get the core engaged. Might even bend your knees slightly. That might feel good. We'll take a few breaths here. Final breath cycle on the side. And as you exhale, come back onto your abdomen. Press yourself into an upright seat, maybe using a cushion or blanket to support your sits bones. And we're going to end this practice with a Tonglen meditation. We'll give ourselves an opportunity to learn a little bit about Tonglen if you are unfamiliar with the practice. And for those of you who are very familiar with the practice, just bear with me for a moment. I actually have an excerpt from Pema Chandram. My apologies if I'm saying her name incorrectly, but she's one of the first recorded Tonglen meditations that I encountered that gave a really beautiful explanation of why we do this and its purpose and its impact. So I'm just going to read a little bit from her along with my own words. So the idea with Tonglen is that our emotions are universal, and what we feel, other people feel, and vice versa. If you've heard of the phrase like being an empath, it means that there's sort of this open exchange of feelings amongst people, which can be a great gift, but it can also have challenges. So as we encounter challenging emotions, like sadness, fear, any sort of pain or suffering, there's a propensity to want to push those things away so that we don't absorb them and take them on. But in today's practice, we're going to allow ourselves to face those uncomfortable emotions, not to take them on, but to face them. And with our hearts, we can alchemize that density and help to transform it and breathe it back into the world as lightness, as spaciousness and liberation. So today we're going to be open channels, right? We're not taking on the suffering of others, but we are allowing those challenging emotions and challenging situations to flow into us. We will alchemize them and then give them back into the world in a lighter and more helpful and compassionate format. The important key here, or at least was something that was really important to me, was realizing that this is not about changing a person and trying to make a person into something that we think someone we think they ought to be. This is about honoring everyone's path and everyone's journey. It's about trust and a greater perspective than what we may currently comprehend. All of that last paragraph I just said is really challenging for me. I am actively working in it and working through it, and I just invite you on this journey with me. So our Tonglen meditation will take 4 parts. The first part is welcoming a sense of awe and wonder and awareness. This is usually associated with something kind of small but spectacular, like seeing a shooting star, or the very first time that you walked into a space that felt sacred, right? I remember walking through Valley of the Winds in Australia and just thinking like, the space itself, it just feels like a sacred space, and that awe and that wonder, right? So that's the first thing, stepping into awe and wonder. The second part is bringing to mind someone who is suffering and in need of compassion. I encourage you to start small here. So maybe not taking on a global crisis, but maybe thinking of just one person, one animal, one small portion of this. The third part is our breath work. We will be breathing in their suffering. We will be transmuting and alchemizing it. And then we will be breathing out sort of a solution, a remedy, the compassion. So to use the example that Ms. Sandron mentioned, she brought up a cage bird. So perhaps you bring into mind a cage bird. You inhale that confinement, that isolation, and you exhale liberation. You can visualize it. You can think about it as a color, as a feeling, whatever works best for you. And then the fourth and final part is where we universalize, right? We take our example beyond just the cage bird or just that one person, and we share that compassion with everyone and everything that's in a similar position. So that's how we'll be moving through today. All right, so let's go ahead and allow the eyes to close. Allow the shoulders to soften down the back once again. And to the extent that you're able, let your entire body relax into this seated position. Good. I invite you to take one big breath in, and as you exhale, we're going to Om together. You can Om with me or listen. Let's inhale here. Exhale to Om if you choose. And bring to mind a situation or space in which you felt a moment of awe, curiosity, something that positively astounded you. Just take a moment to bring that situation to mind. Now let the situation go and allow the feeling, the sentiment to linger with you. As you hold on to that sense of awe and wonder, I invite you to bring to mind someone who is suffering and in need of compassion. This could be someone, something, human or animal. Just take a moment to bring their suffering into mind, their need for compassion. I invite you to see their face. And if the image of their face or their expression is painful, I invite you to see past that pain into who they truly are. Everything that composes them, not just the moment of challenge. You might even imagine that this person or animal, maybe they're in the room with you, sitting in front of you, sitting near you. And give yourself a moment to observe them in their fullness, their beauty. Good. As you inhale, I invite you to inhale their pain. You may give it a color, a density. Maybe it's hot or heavy. And with your exhalations, I invite you to breathe out relief, spaciousness, freedom, coolness. Inhale the heaviness and the density, and with your heart and your intention, exhale the lightness and the liberation. We will take several breaths here with this one situation, allowing it to solidify in our minds and seeing it from many different perspectives. And with every perspective, we can release a new form of compassion, a new form of peace towards them. Good. I now invite you to universalize the situation and offer that may everyone and everything who is suffering in this way receive compassion and resources. May we breathe in the pain of all who are confined or suffering and breathe out liberation and release. Take a moment to zoom out to all who are in a similar situation and offer up the alchemy within you, changing their situation to offer compassion and even self-compassion if you find yourself in a similar situation. As you see this universal state of suffering from different angles and different perspectives, may you offer compassion and lightness and peace to every angle and perspective that you encounter. Let it alchemize in your body and pass through you, not sticking to you or lingering with you. You're simply a channel for the alchemy. Let your next exhalation be your last of this practice, the last exhalation of ease and liberation and peace and resourcefulness. And then I invite you to place both of your hands over your heart and call to mind the unique intention that you set for your practice. Consider how you might honor it off of the mat, outside of this class. I invite you to bring both of your hands together to the extent that you're able, palm to palm and fingertip to fingertip. And then bring both of your hands up towards the center of your forehead, a space we often associate with our third eye, right in between the brows. And offer up just a moment of gratitude to yourself, to the universe, to others, for everything that's come together for you to be here with me this morning at this time. I want to thank you all so much for taking this time out of your day to honor yourself and to honor everyone else through this practice. The light in me bows humbly and gratefully to that same beautiful, radiant light in you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Take care. Thank you for joining me. Remember that this Tonglen practice is not isolated to the mat, right? At any point where you may encounter a challenging news story or a challenging situation, remember that you can implement this in just a matter of seconds. And it can also be for positive situations too. So if you're sitting down to a nutritious, warm meal, it is completely okay to lift up the situation and to say something like, may everyone everywhere experience this nurturing, fulfilling sensation, or something along those lines, right? You don't have to wait for tragedy to share that empathy and to share that compassion with others. So, signing off now. Thank you so much for joining me. You all take care of yourselves. Sending you so much love. Bye.